Welcome everyone to the 2007-2008 NFL season with the Cleveland Browns. This is the 32-team franchise. The Browns went 9-7, second in the AFC North, falling second to the Baltimore Ravens. In the real 2007-2008 season, the Browns went 10-6 and just missed the playoffs. And here they were again, 9-7 and just missed the playoffs to the Denver Broncos and San Diego Chargers. There was a QB carousel this year. Derek Anderson was the main starter with 2,700 passing yards, 25 TDs, 8 interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns there. He's the quarterback I prefer to play. However, he got hurt in the very first game against Pittsburgh, which forced Brady Quinn to come in and play. Brady Quinn played fairly well, and so we went with Brady Quinn. But then Brady Quinn got hurt, and then Anderson took the reins back over, and then because they were winning, they kept him. However, there was a losing streak near the end, which leads us into the 2008 season with Brady Quinn likely to be the starter. But you can see some highlights from Derek Anderson, the 6'6" cannon arm, their touchdown pass to Darnell Dinkins. The Browns are my favorite team, so it was nice to see them actually being somewhat successful, and they were one of the more powerhouse teams in this season. I'll show you the team stats later. There's a touchdown to Steve Hyden. And Brady Quinn had 975 pass yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Had a fairly solid season. And this is one of my favorite plays there. Look at that. 360 corner touchdown pass to Braylon Edwards on Thursday Night Football. Just beautiful. And so, Brady Quinn had a lot of great moments. There he is against Oakland, doing another pass to Braylon Edwards, who was a top-notch receiver this year. He had 994 receiving yards, 14 receiving touchdowns. And again, just over there, I think he stands 6'3", 6'4". There we go again. Pass to the end zone. And so Cleveland was doing incredibly well, leading the AFC North. I mean, it was between them and the Ravens. However, the Ravens just took off near the end, and the Browns were always just like a game or two behind, but were just unable to come away with the wild card seat. I think another great touchdown against Pittsburgh. Again, Pittsburgh was a very busy game. And for the most part, the Cleveland Browns games were very high scoring. The defense allowed a lot of points, not as much yards, but a lot of points, and their offense put up a lot of points. And there's a beautiful Beckham catch there, one-handed over the defender for that touchdown. Back of the end zone touchdown for Edwards there. So I would have preferred to keep Anderson as the starter for the Browns. I liked him, but when you draft a quarterback 22nd overall, you're going to use him. And there's Josh Cribbs, who I used probably more as a wide receiver than the real Browns did. But he only had 260 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. He has not been the breakaway kick returner, punt returner I was hoping he'd be. But he did have some beautiful plays like that one there. Right, deep throw, broken a tackle, touchdown. Did use him as a good speed option. I'm thinking about changing his position to running back so that I can use him more frequently there he is dropping the ball, use them in the Wildcat formation. Then Joe Jaravicius, who did retire at the end of the season, big Browns fan growing up, always wanted to play for the Browns. He was 1 yard shy of 500 receiving yards, and only had 1 touchdown. I think right there. Travis Wilson, number 81. 472 receiving yards. But then there was Kellen Winslow, who was the number 1 receiver for the Browns, the tight end, with 1,072 receiving yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. Again, a very reliable tight end option for the Browns, good pass catcher, and one I use very frequently. Between him and Edwards, I knew that I needed to get the Browns another wide receiver because I did not trust Wilson or Cribbs. Jaravicius retired and was more of a possession receiver, not an explosive receiver. And so I ended up drafting Harry Douglas in the 3rd round. And I'm hoping he has a big season with Cleveland in the next 2008-2009 season. As for their running game, Jamal Lewis had 1,100 yards rushing, 11 rushing touchdowns, had some decent receiving yards for a running back. And you gotta say, he had some huge games, some big breakout games, just mowing people over. I think he's gonna do that right here. He spins around, right? Oh, okay, that's not there. Okay, there's another one that he just was shedding tackles all the way to the end zone. There with the spin moves, some big plays, misses another guy. That was one of the plays that was just phenomenal. Had to have Troy Polamalu run across the field to bring him down. And there he is, just right up the middle against the Chiefs, who were I believe they're the second worst team. They had the second overall pick, but he just runs it right up the middle. I mean, and he is out of there. There's no catching up with him. And there he is, knocking that guy over, just plowing through that Chiefs defense. Jerome Harrison was a decent backup. However, I kind of wanted to get a better running back. I ended up drafting Peyton Hillis, the fullback, in the 7th round, and changed him to being more of a power running back at like a 72 overall. So I'm going to see how he does as a second running back for Cleveland to pair him up with Jamal Lewis about 2 years earlier than he should have been. Because I think it was about 2 years after Peyton Hillis went to Cleveland and had just his Madden cover breakout year. But for this season, Jamal Lewis was just a tank. I mean, just look at that. I mean, 2-3 tackles broken, fought for extra yards. They had a very solid running game. And that was Brady Quinn over there. I think Anderson was sitting out for the remainder of that game. I think they were getting either blown out or I think they were getting blown out because Denver beat them, which helped Denver lead them to the playoffs. And there he is, beating the Ravens for a touchdown. Another one up the middle. Here's Jerome Harrison again, 447 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. A very solid backup for the Browns. And again, I went with more of a power running back to be the number 2. And there's Kenny Wright making the field goal block against the Chiefs. So they were the 4th ranked team in total offensive yards, a top 5 offense. They were the 5th ranked total passing yards team. They were 8th in total rushing yards. So a top 10 team all around on the offense. And then they were 4th in total points per game. On the defensive side of the ball, they were a little bit lower. They were least yards allowed, 22nd. And that was largely due to their inability to stop the pass. You see, they were the 30th ranked team in least passing yards, but they were number 1 in least rushing yards allowed. So that was a unique stat there. And then they were 26th in total points allowed, or least points allowed. There it is, the 2007-2008 NFL season with the Cleveland Browns, basically one game away from the playoffs.